Hi everyone, welcome to Inktober 2025. My name is Lavinia. I am participating in the Zentangle prompt challenge for the month of October, and we are at day 11, which the tangle is called Bee Fly. And I'm going to draw it here on the calendar. I will be drawing it here on the bijou tile, as well as on this compilation, which I purchased a kit from Kelly Bluen at Minutes of Zen if you wanted to check out her channel. And this is my variation on Bee Fly. So we are going to be drawing this and maybe other tangulations as I draw this. So I will show you the basic and then what I did to embellish it. So Bee Fly, like butterfly. Usually when we go to breakfast, we say be fast. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and break it down here on the calendar first. And I have a variety of tools. Any kind of ink pen will be fine. I have a 4B pencil that I'm going to be using today. I have my eraser. I don't know that I'll be needing my eraser, but I also have my blending stump for the graphite. This brush, if I use the eraser, is just what I use to brush off the crumbs because this is a gum eraser and it does make quite a bit of crumbs. I'm going to be using my Micron PN pen, the plastic nib in black, but I also have a variety of different ink pens. You can use ballpoint pen. Just be aware that that if you use the graphite, just a suggestion, because ballpoint pen may not sink too much into the paper. So if you rub it, it may just may smear a little. But you can, of course, use ink pen, especially if you're not using the graphite. Just be aware of that. And then I have my bijou tile. So October 11th of 2025. And I like to put here either my impression or feeling of how I felt when drawing the tangle. So let me bring the camera just a little bit closer. Okay, so here we go. So the main things that we're going to be drawing first, we're going to be drawing this first loop or teardrop, which is sort of like this flux that I showed in another video. So we're going to be drawing these 4 teardrop shapes first. They are going to intersect. So just a matter of picking a spot. And if you want to draw it in pencil, let's go ahead and do that first, just in case. So I'm drawing here a big loop or teardrop shape first. Then from here, I'm drawing the second one. We do want it to intersect. And then I'm drawing that third one. And I may shift my paper around here. And I'm going to draw that fourth one. Let's go ahead and ink it in. This is such a pretty Zentangle, that there's so many different variations of embellishments that you can do. Okay, so there we go. Now the next step is putting in these orbs. You could do that, or we can color this in. So maybe I'll show you what I did to color or ink this in. That is my cat Kyrie. If you hear her in the background, she wants to go out. So what I did is, instead of inking the whole thing in, which maybe I might do here, maybe on this tangle, which is a little bit bigger, I'll show you how I did that. So for this one, let's just go ahead and ink it in. But there are variations. Again, you could add stripes, you could put little orbs, you could put vertical lines. You might want to color these in, the petal shapes, and maybe leave these blank. So just try it and, see what you prefer. Okay, so now the next step is we're going to put in that larger orb or circle. So this one is going to be the largest of them, like that. And then we're going to put a smaller one here, and then two smaller ones here. Isn't that pretty? And then the next step is to give it an aura or that outline. So I'm just going to start here. And I'm going to give it that aura. Or outline. And I'm going to connect that there. So that is pretty much it for bee fly. Let me bring that closer so you can see. And I like to add some color. And you know what? I have these Pitt pens, Faber-Castell Pitt pens. Maybe I will use one of these since I have it out. Maybe just add a little bit of color. If you don't add these this could also look like a flower shape. But I'm going to show you on the Tangle, the bijou tile, the variation that I did. So let's go ahead and start that over. And of course you can flip this over the opposite way. And so I'm just starting with that larger teardrop shape. Again, you can do this in pencil if you'd like. There's Kyrie again. Just getting those intersecting lines. And then this smaller one here, like that. Now what I did to give it this effect is I started to ink it in here from the bottom. So it looks like that. And then from the top, I did the same thing, just come on down here like this. And I'm purposely leaving it a little bit jagged like that. And then I'm coming to this next one and I'm doing the same thing, just inking it in from the top and the bottom with just some little light strokes. And then with this third one, the same thing. So this is, again, just a variation. Okay. And then we're adding the larger orb. Right there. And then a smaller one here. I'm going to ink in that little white spot. And then two smaller ones underneath. Okay, and then the next thing is we're going to give it that aura or that outline. like that. And then what I decided to do, you could, as a variation, make it like flex with the line and that dot. So let's say you wanted to do that. You can do stripes, you can leave it blank. What I did is I just added these orbs, and I started from the top, making a larger one, and then I just went down. So wherever that petal shape is, just coming down. So I made a larger one. And then just came down. And then from here too, just continuing on down, making them just a little bit smaller. Kyrie. We'll go out in a moment. I know. Like that. And then I also added some orbs here and inked this little space in. Adding that orb and inking in that space. All right, and then the last thing I did is I added some fescue here as if they were antenna. Don't have much space here, but see if I can add that here like that. Now on these tiles, I do not add graphite. I just like to leave them plain like that. So this would be the completed tangle. I probably could have started a little bit over here, but that's fine. But I think that these are so pretty. All right, and I'm going to go ahead now and add it to my compilation page. So let me bring this a little bit further out. So here's the page. And I was thinking perhaps I might add it here. Maybe as if it wanted to land here or here. Let's see if I can maybe place it here and then just tie that all in. So I think I'm going to start with my pencil actually first, just to make sure it's where I would like it to be. So starting again with, so this is where perhaps those orbs would be in this area. So I'm going to go ahead and place my first teardrop here. And then, well, Kyrie decided to jump up here. I think that'll be fine right there. So I'm going to grab my micron pen, and if I need to make any adjustments, I will. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to ink it in as I did on the Zentangle tile. Giving it that look like that. Same thing here. So I'm coming up a little bit further on the edges and then just not as much there in the middle. And for this tangle here on this paper, on this cardstock, I will be adding the graphite. So I'll show you how that looks. Okay. And now the next thing is I'm going to add those orbs. So here where this middle point is, I'm just going to make that larger orb. And then this is the top. So I'm going to add that additional orb a little bit smaller. And then 2 additional ones down here. Then we're going to place that aura. So we're pretty much just tracing the lines and giving it an outline. There we go. I like this here with rambles. And then I had added that larger orb here, and then I continued on down. You can, if you're following along with this particular design, you can put as many or as little as you want. Maybe you just want to put one. That. And then I had added the additional orbs here. And I filled in that space. And then I added the fescue. Just a little line within that little seed shape like that. Okay, then for the graphite. And I don't know, depending on what other designs there are, I may put another aura around this as well as here. It just depends on, as I add to it, what it will look like. Now I have my 4B pencil. And so what I did is I'm just going to add some graphite here in these areas. And just coming up here around the edge. I'm also putting just a little bit here underneath. Just underneath these orbs. We'll see what that looks like. And maybe just a little bit here as well. I've got my tortillon, and we're going to go ahead and just push that into the paper and then just bring it up. I am going to take my eraser because this was part of the petal line, the original petal line. So I am going to erase that because I want that aura edge to stand out. Okay, and then just a little bit underneath here. I like this eraser, but it definitely does make a lot of crumbs. Okay, and then if you feel that you want to add a little bit more graphite in certain areas, you can always go ahead and add more. And of course, if you have your eraser and you feel it's too much, you can always take away. Okay, I think that is it for this bee fly. Very pretty. I think it's a really pretty tangle. And I can always add more later on if I feel like I need to fill in some space. But I hope you enjoy this one. I hope you give it a try. So again, all the different variations there. So thanks so much for watching, everyone. Take care. I will see you in the next one. Bye.